Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear brothers and sisters, and welcome back to the Islamic SHAHADA channel. In recent years, a growing number of American women have embarked on deeply personal journeys to embrace Islam, a path often marked by intellectual curiosity, spiritual seeking, and a quest for meaning in an increasingly complex world. These women come from diverse backgrounds, each carrying unique stories of discovery, struggle, and transformation. Their decisions to convert to Islam are not impulsive or superficial. Rather, they represent thoughtful explorations of faith, identity, and purpose. In this video, we explore the real-life experiences of three American women, Flur Rosanna, Megan Rice, and Ashley Pearson Khan, whose stories shed light on the profound reasons behind their conversions. From early spiritual inclinations and encounters with Muslim communities to moments of clarity and heartfelt commitment, their journeys reveal how Islam resonates with their values, provides answers to their questions, and ultimately becomes the foundation of their lives. Join us as we delve into their inspiring stories and examine why more American women today are choosing to convert to Islam. Flur Rosanna was raised in a household that did not believe in God. Yet, from a very young age, she felt a deep conviction that God truly existed. Her family identified as Christian, but not in any devout or active sense. They would occasionally attend church, sometimes only once a year, typically around Christmas. Despite this, Flur felt a strong spiritual pull that no one else around her seemed to share. She vividly remembers praying as a little girl, even though she didn't know how to do it properly. At night, she would either lie in bed or kneel beside it, hands clasped at her chest, whispering to God in her own innocent way. It wasn't something she was taught, it was something she felt compelled to do. Flur attended a Christian school and was given a children's version of the Bible. Still, as she grew, she noticed that many of the values she lived by aligned more closely with the teachings of Islam than with what she was taught at school or practiced at home. One of her favorite pastimes was writing stories, and without quite understanding why, her stories almost always centered around religious themes, specifically Islamic ones. The main characters she created were almost always devout and deeply spiritual in a way that closely mirrored Islamic ideals. What made this especially curious was the fact that Flur had never met a single Muslim in her life. She grew up in a small village where the Muslim population was virtually non-existent. Her only exposure to Islam came from what little she saw on television. Yet still, the fascination lingered. During her teenage years, particularly in high school, Flur began to lose her connection with God. Her environment became increasingly secular, and no one around her seemed to believe in anything beyond the material world. That sense of spiritual isolation left a void in her heart, but things began to change when she went to college in a large city. For the first time, she met real-life Muslims. However, the Muslims she encountered didn't reflect the values she had long admired or written about. Their behavior often disappointed her, and she felt disheartened by the disconnect between her ideals and the reality she observed. Even so, her fascination with Islam didn't fade. It continued to burn quietly within her, giving rise to countless questions she didn't know who to ask. That changed when Flur met a Muslim man whose worldview closely mirrored her own. They connected deeply, and he would eventually become her husband. That relationship became the turning point in her journey. Encouraged by their shared values and driven by a sincere need for understanding, Flur began to study Islam in earnest, not just for the sake of her writing, but to truly seek the truth for herself. Over the course of less than a year, Flur dove deeply into research, reading, and reflection. Through that intellectual and spiritual investigation, she reached a firm conclusion: Islam was the truth she had been seeking all along. It was not a sudden decision or emotional leap, but the result of thoughtful study and inner clarity. Eventually, she embraced Islam wholeheartedly and pronounced the SHAHADA, the declaration of faith. Looking back, Flur believes that finding the right person played a crucial role in her path to Islam. Her husband didn't just support her. He reflected the kind of values and integrity she had long held dear. What once seemed like a strange childhood interest in Islam had transformed into her guiding worldview. Islam was no longer just a theme in her stories. It had become the story of her life. Megan Rice, an American activist and TikTok content creator, made headlines after publicly announcing her decision to embrace Islam. Her conversion was not a spontaneous or emotional reaction. It was the result of a deeply personal and intellectual journey sparked by the humanitarian crisis unfolding in Gaza. In a heartfelt livestream on her TikTok account, Rice recited the SHAHADA, the Islamic declaration of faith, marking her official conversion to Islam. Clothed in a hijab and visibly moved, she shared that Islam has brought her a sense of peace, safety, and inner clarity she had never experienced before. Since the beginning of Israel's military aggression in Gaza, Megan Rice has become a prominent voice in the Arab and Muslim online communities. In a digital space often dominated by misinformation and political agendas, Rice stood out for her unwavering solidarity with the Palestinian people. Her content, shared across platforms, consistently challenged dominant Western narratives and instead centered the humanity and resilience of the Palestinians. What deeply moved her was not only the suffering of Gaza's civilians, but their unshakable strength, patience, and hope in the face of destruction. This led her to a profound question: where does this kind of inner strength come from? In interviews and social media posts, Rice recalled how this question led her down an unexpected path. After she posted a video expressing admiration for the faith of the Palestinian people, her followers began responding with a simple suggestion: "That's Islam. Have you read the Quran?" Curious, open-minded, and seeking to understand more, she decided to accept that invitation. "I made a video sharing my awe at the faith of the Palestinian people," she said, "and people commented, 'That's Islam. Have you read the Quran? You probably should.'" And so her journey began, not out of pressure but out of an authentic desire to learn. Rice began reading the Quran with an open heart and a critical mind. It wasn't a casual or symbolic act. It was part of a deliberate effort to understand the source of the spiritual power she had seen reflected in the people of Gaza. "I had the time, and I was genuinely curious to research and learn," she explained. "I started reading the Quran to uncover the secret behind the strength of Gaza's people." The more she read, the more she felt a growing connection to the teachings of Islam. Its emphasis on justice, compassion, dignity, and reliance on God resonated deeply with her personal values and worldview. These were not foreign ideas. They were familiar truths she had always believed in, but now she had found them expressed clearly and completely in the Quran. Motivated by both curiosity and a growing sense of purpose, Rice decided to take things further. She launched a Quran Club on TikTok, a virtual space where Muslims and non-Muslims alike could learn about the Quran together. Her goal was to educate, demystify, and open up honest conversations about Islam and other faiths. On Instagram, she explained that the purpose of this initiative was to combat Islamophobia, fight racism, and understand why the Palestinian people have such a profound connection to their faith and scripture. It wasn't just activism, it was spiritual exploration rooted in empathy and truth-seeking. As her knowledge deepened, so did her conviction. Rice eventually came to see Islam not just as a religion practiced by others, but as a complete way of life that aligned seamlessly with her own principles and beliefs. Her decision to convert was not driven by external influence, but by the clarity she found in Islam's teachings. In one of the most transformative moments of her life, she embraced Islam and recited the Shahada with sincerity and gratitude. Since then, Megan Rice has continued to use her platform to share her journey and encourage others to seek truth with open hearts. Her social media pages now regularly feature daily English translations of Quranic verses, along with reflections on her ongoing spiritual growth. Despite the challenges of being a new convert in a public space, she has received overwhelming support from her followers, many of whom see her story as a powerful example of courage, sincerity, and the universality of faith. Megan Rice's story is a testament to the power of empathy, curiosity, and truth. What began as a humanitarian concern for the people of Gaza became a spiritual awakening of her own. Her journey to Islam was not forced or reactive. It was honest, intentional, and deeply human. In seeking to understand others, Megan found a deeper understanding of herself. And in the verses of the Quran, she found the peace, strength, and certainty she had long been searching for. Ashley Pearson Khan, a woman from Arkansas, United States, officially embraced Islam on June 2, 2019, after a years-long spiritual journey filled with reflection, discovery, and unexpected transformation. Her story is not just one of conversion, but of courage, navigating a new path in a place where Muslims are a small minority, and doing so with deep sincerity and purpose. She shared her journey openly through her YouTube channel and public speaking, describing the gradual but powerful shift that led her to find peace in Islam. Ashley's journey began on her university campus, where she discovered a mentorship program that paired American students with international students. Intrigued by the opportunity to learn from different cultures, she enrolled, hoping to meet new people and gain global perspective. It was through this program that she met two hijabi women, one of whom was a Saudi Arabian graduate student pursuing her master's degree. What began as a casual connection soon evolved into a deep and meaningful friendship. Over the next 2 years, Ashley engaged in countless conversations with her Saudi friend, asking questions about her beliefs, lifestyle, and most notably, her faith. Through this honest exchange, Ashley was introduced to the richness and depth of Islam, not through books or media, but through lived experience. Her curiosity eventually led her to participate in World Hijab Day, observed every February 1st. Wanting to understand more about the hijab and what it represented, she began watching YouTube tutorials and practiced wearing a scarf at home. The moment she wore it for the first time, she felt an unexpected sense of comfort and empowerment. "I never felt uncertain about it," she would later recall. Though she wasn't yet Muslim, the hijab became a part of her identity. When she wore it to campus for the first time, she braced herself for judgment, but instead received overwhelming support, even from colleagues who wanted to join her in observing World Hijab Day. In 2017, Ashley became an official ambassador for World Hijab Day. She participated in campus events, led awareness initiatives, and wore the hijab regularly, all while still identifying as non-Muslim. In 2018, she organized her own World Hijab Day program at her university, determined to combat widespread misconceptions about Islam. It was during this time that she began studying Islam more seriously. Encouraged by supportive members of her campus mosque, she started praying, listening to Islamic podcasts, learning about fasting, and exploring the meanings of the Quran. During the month of Ramadan, she took on a personal 30-day hijab challenge, not just as a social statement, but as an internal test of faith. She informed her co-workers of her decision and received mostly positive responses. Her commitment to the challenge marked a deeper transformation. Ashley began practicing aspects of Islam wholeheartedly, waking for suhoor, attempting to pray, and listening to stories of other converts. She immersed herself in knowledge and reflection, feeling increasingly connected to Islamic teachings and values. Her love for the faith grew stronger each day. She found herself falling in love with Islam, its message, its clarity, its structure, and its spiritual discipline. "I wanted to dive deeper," she shared, "and I completely fell in love with this religion." Despite not being Muslim yet, many around her assumed she was, especially since she consistently wore the hijab and adopted many Islamic practices. When asked what was holding her back, Ashley realized the only thing left was to make her decision public and final. The turning point came during Ramadan in 2019. While fasting and reflecting, Ashley felt a sense of inner peace that was unfamiliar yet incredibly profound. It wasn't just an emotional experience, it was spiritual clarity. At the end of the holy month, she declared her faith and took the SHAHADA, formally becoming a Muslim on June 2nd. She describes the moment as one beyond words. "I felt a peace I had never experienced before. I can't even explain it. I was so thankful. Allah has truly gifted me," she said with heartfelt gratitude. Living as a Muslim woman in Arkansas, particularly in the South, presented its own set of challenges. The Muslim population in her area was small, and encounters with other Muslims were rare. When she went to supermarkets or public places in her hijab, people would stare, simply because they weren't used to seeing it. But Ashley didn't let the stares or occasional questions deter her. She remained confident in her choice, proud of who she was becoming. One of the most physically demanding challenges came during her first few Ramadans. In Arkansas, fasting meant abstaining from food and drink for nearly 17 hours a day. Ashley would wake around 3 or 4 a.m. to eat suhoor and break her fast around 8 p.m. "There were days where I didn't eat or drink at all during daylight. That was hard," she admitted. "But overall, it went really well." Sometimes she would forget she was fasting and had to make a conscious effort to stay away from the kitchen or avoid accidentally drinking water. To keep herself distracted, she stayed busy and active throughout the day. "I'd get hungry around 11 a.m., and even more so by 2 p.m., but then I was okay," she laughed. At work, she often had to explain why she couldn't join colleagues for lunch or coffee. "People would invite me out when restaurants opened, and I'd have to politely decline. That part was a little tough," she shared. "Thankfully, the weather wasn't too hot, or it would have been even more challenging," she added with a smile. Despite these obstacles, Ashley never wavered in her commitment. She used her voice to educate others, friends, co-workers, and strangers about Ramadan, prayer, hijab, and the core values of Islam. Her journey inspired many, particularly women, who saw in her a relatable figure navigating faith and identity in a Western setting. In later interviews and blogs, including on Muslimah, according to Me and Voice of Salam, Ashley reflected on the complexities of converting to Islam in America. The hardest part, she noted, wasn't accepting Islam intellectually or spiritually, but transitioning socially, letting go of old habits, redefining relationships, and stepping into a new way of life. "Some people walked away, but what I gained was far greater, a stronger relationship with God, and a sense of belonging I never had before." Ashley's story is more than just a tale of religious conversion. It's a testimony of integrity, exploration, and spiritual awakening. It reminds us that sometimes the most unexpected paths lead us home. In her search to understand another culture, Ashley found her own truth. In trying to support others, she uncovered the faith that would support her. And in embracing Islam, she discovered peace, purpose, and a profound connection to something greater than herself. The stories of Flur Rosanna, Megan Rice, and Ashley Pearson illustrate that the decision to convert to Islam is rarely sudden or simplistic. Instead, it is a nuanced, deeply reflective process shaped by personal experiences, sincere questioning, and a search for truth. For these women, Islam has offered not only a spiritual home, but also a way to reconcile their beliefs, values, and identities in a world that often feels fragmented and challenging. Their journeys remind us that faith is a personal voyage, one that can transcend cultural boundaries and societal expectations. As more women in America and beyond explore Islam, these stories serve as powerful testimonies to the transformative power of spiritual awakening and the universal human desire for peace, justice, and belonging. Ultimately, their experiences challenge common misconceptions and invite us to view conversion not as an end, but as the beginning of a lifelong journey toward understanding, compassion, and purpose. Thanks for watching until the end. I hope it was useful. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.